Hey, Kels.
What's up, Hiker Alex?
Did you ever think back to when we first started the decks before we cover trivia and strategy for a different Pokemon each week?
Sometimes, but I don't know, man. Where are you going with this?
I mean, back when we first started, I never thought we'd actually end up here. We've almost got 200,000 subscribers, and like 70 of them even bought shirts. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, you know what? That is pretty cool. The Carps really left the Dragon's Gate, huh?
Wait, was this just a segue into this week's episode?
Oh, most definitely.
How is that even possible? It's like my own original
It's Gyarados! Well, he's a Riptide King and he's super mean. Gyarados is the atrocious Pokemon from way back in Gen 1. Everybody knows who he is because back then it was so crazy when he finally came out of the week-old Magikarp. It was like a prize just for putting up with him for 20 levels.
That's probably why his name comes from the Japanese Gyakyo, which means hardship or adversity. Mix that with Rodan, that weird flying Godzilla kaiju friend that kind of looks like a turkey, and bingo, you got Gyarados.
Yeah, or it could be from Gyaku, Arashi, and Dosu, which are the words for contrary, storm, and the onomatopoeia for the sound of flesh being pierced. This goes along with the Pokedex entries which paint Gyarados as one violent
Okay, so then how does a silly little thing like Magikarp turn into such a force to be reckoned with? One more science-y clue is that its Omega Ruby entry says Magikarp's brain cells undergo a sudden structural transformation that is to blame for its wildly violent nature.
That is grade A nutty, my dude.
Right?
But there is another more mythical inspiration behind this big change.
It's a segment, isn't it?
That's right, my boogie. In this week's Pokemon, we are covering the Chinese story called the Dragon Gate. So, okay. The legend goes that the God Emperor Yu had to split a mountain in half so that the Yellow River could pass through. But in the process, much to the dismay of the local carp population, it created a practically impassable series of giant waterfalls.
Luckily though, carp thrive on their pure tenacity, and despite the odds towering against them, they never stop jumping, always swimming upstream, and always trying to leap over the top of the falls.
And finally, when one brave carp actually does succeed, it is instantly transformed into a heavenly dragon. That's why a bunch of waterfalls all over China are called Dragon's Gate.
And that's not all! Magikarp's been jumping the whole time too! You know how Magikarp's signature move in Gen 1 was Splash, and then weirdly, Pokemon like Hoppip, Spoink, and Buneary could learn it too? That's because in Japanese, the word for splash, haneru, also translates to hop. He's been jumping the falls this whole time. You just thought he was splashing.
Which explains why the Pokedex spends so much time talking about how well Magikarp can jump. Though one says never more than 7 feet, while the other says can jump a mountain. So, you know, clean it up, Pokedex.
This story is so well known in some parts of the world that it probably contributed to the popularity of koi as a pet fish, since they look kind of like carp with dragon scales. And yeah, it even works as an idiom that's popular all over China, so you weren't actually even being weird at the beginning, Kels. Pokemon, man. Dang, my knowledge on this really jumped the Dragon Gate.
Being weird at the beginning, dude. I live to share knowledge, and sometimes you gotta set them up before you knock them down.
I feel that.
You do?
Yep, but speaking of knocking them down,
oh boy.
It's time for some Gen 6 Gyarados battle strategy. Humor me, baby.
Okay, fine. Pokemon!
Gyarados is pretty fearsome any way you slice it thanks to its surprising special bulk and high attack, but give it a Mega Stone and it drops to Water Flying for Water Dark, and then you really gotta watch out. Start with an Adamant one and super train it in attack and speed.
If Gyarados has Intimidate before he Mega Evolves, that's a great way to get into your opponent's head right on the switch in. And then once you're Mega Evolved, Volt Breaker takes over, and it's time to either Dragon Dance to boost your stats, or get off a taunt to deal with some more defensive opponents.
Thanks to the Mega Stone, Crunch suddenly gains Stab, and taking even one hit from it can be devastating, especially after you're boosted, and then either back it up with Stab Waterfall for coverage, or gain advantage with Substitute if you think Crunch will force enough switches on its own.
That's a pretty killer strat, but never fear, if you don't want to use your Mega Slot on a Gyarados, this week, instead of Random Thoughts, here's a different non-Mega Evolved strat.
I like to lean into regular Gyarados' bulk a little bit more, so this time start with a careful one and super train it in HP defense and special defense. It's funny because you never imagine him as bulky, but he totally is.
Since you've got a little more staying power, try a support move like Thunder Wave or Dragon Tail to mess with your opponent's head a little bit. But don't run both because you still want to have Waterfall around for that sweet, sweet stab water damage.
Smartly switch back and forth between these two moves as long as you can get away with it, but just as it's starting to look like you might be finished, hit him with that Rest Sleep Talk combo. It's super disheartening, and you never stop being threatening even when you're unconscious.
And bing bang boom, with a little Intimidate to back up your bulk and a little Leftovers to keep you going, Gyarados can really get himself stuck in your opponent's metaphorical craw, man! Happy trails, Hardship Rodin! Ah!
And that's it! The big angry carp dragon with a big fan base in China. Just goes to show what can happen if you never give up.
Yeah, and we made it all the way to the end of the episode without making a Dory joke.
Click here for facts and strats on more water-type Pokemon, or here for a playlist with all our episodes that have a Pokemon segment. And hey, why not subscribe while you're here?
If you already are a subscriber and you're looking for a way to say thanks for the hours of free entertainment, click the link in the description below to buy our new awesome t-shirts. Don't they look sweet? Don't forget to buy a backup or 3 for Christmas. I'm PokeKellz.
And I'm Hiker Alex. Tune in next week for another freezing cold episode of
The Dex. Did you like that one?
That's good. Let's keep it.